let's welcome our edu speaker, Janet Gloria, with her session, which is We Compromise Cybersecurity. Humans are actually the most dangerous things in security system. Janet, I will pass the floor to you now. Janet, please.
So before I start, I'd like to try and share my screen. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, it's visible, Janet.
Oh, okay. All right, then. So, with the rise of technology being used in our daily lives and pushes for digitalization for nearly every process that we do, from government bureaucracy to even simple tasks like ordering food, there needs to be a growing awareness for cybersecurity. And today, we'll be finding out more about how we, as humans, are actually the biggest security vulnerability when it comes to a secure system with cybersecurity. Good evening, at least from Indonesia, everyone. My name is Gloria, and I'll be leading you through this dangerous information that could either save your lives, finances, and maybe even your life someday. So first of all, before I start, I have been introduced before, but let me introduce myself again. So my name is Gloria, and I'm an IT student specializing in artificial intelligence and data science, but I also like cybersecurity. That's why I have also been certified by EC Council International for Certified Ethical Hacker and Certified Hacking Forensic Investigator. So they sound really similar because they both have the word hacking or hacker in it, but they are actually very, very different. So Certified Ethical Hacker, or CEH, I'll be calling it CEH from now on because it's really long. It's more to typical hacker things like scanning for vulnerabilities, breaking into systems, databases. We even can create viruses. We know a lot of hacking tools. And we also need to know really well about networking, IP addresses, MAC addresses, many kinds of computer addresses, while actually in forensics or CHFI, Certified Hacking Forensic Investigator, it's more to becoming Detective Conan, but for computers, laptops, phones, and all of that. So being a CHFI person is you're looking more into identification, finding tracks, recovering deleted files, photos, and we also have the power to create legal reports of digital findings. So if you're a criminal and you deleted evidence, if I have your phone, I can actually recover it back for the sake of evidence in court. And so, because I have been certified for all of these, I do have some projects that I've done. The first one being Snare and Tanner Honeypots, which is basically creating a website that seems normal and seems very easy to hack, but actually it is easy to hack for a reason. It's easy to hack because behind that website is actually a whole system created to identify who the hackers are, identifying what they're doing, and using this data to improve our database and security for the actual website. So if you have a business and you have this kind of easy to hack website, you can use this information to put it inside your actual website so the same hacker can't do the same exact thing. And for Kaku Sandbox on the rack server, if you guys don't know what a rack server is, it's the purple like wardrobes there, but they hold computers. I installed a Kaku Sandbox there so that my teammates at the time could do automated malware analysis on that server. So it's much faster than a normal laptop. And you must be wondering, like, this all sounds super sketchy, super illegal in some way. So how do I do all of this? Well, actually, I just kind of stare at these things for days, weeks, or even months. So what you see on the matrix, for example, with the green text and the black screen, it's actually true. Just like not to that extent. We look at this one terminal for like hours, just trying to figure out what command to use. So that's one of them. And the second, we obviously stare at YouTube tutorials for days because, of course, if you're an engineer or you're a college student at some point, and you're maybe a little bit younger, you cannot live without these YouTube tutorials. And this white interface in the back, that's actually for forensics checking. So if you see, I don't know if you can see, it's quite small. This is selecting a document file, but sometimes document files are just pretending to be document files. So maybe it's just named .doc, but it could actually be a virus or some other kind of cheat that you have in your laptop or device, actually doing something illegal in the back. And we check that by looking at these numbers down here. And the same can be said for images, and this is called steganography. And sometimes images are the ones carrying the hidden messages or hidden files that can actually be illegal or is actually an act of terrorism, because that happens a lot. And for this one in the middle, that's actually Kaku Sandbox for the automated malware analysis that I had to install on the rack server back then. So do we get jobs for doing these kinds of things? Yes, we do, even though it might sound really sketchy. And yes, it's very cute bunnies here. So typically, the cybersecurity world is divided into a red team and blue team. So these two teams. And the red team, just like its name, is typically for hackers, ethical hackers, and blue is for defense and post-incident reports. So this is forensics, and this is ethical hackers. So ethical hackers, as mentioned earlier, break into systems, and they get hired by companies to test how easy or how hard it is to break into their systems. And if they find something interesting, like, oh, I could break into it using this method, and we should probably fix that, you basically just tell the developers that, oh, you just made it like that, and then they're gonna fix it. And they check the security of the code, whether or not it's secure, whether or not it's easy to break for the applications that the company is using or deploying. And if they don't really like that, then they can just become cybersecurity consultants for companies that need more advice about how to make their products more secure in the digital world. And yes, they get paid a lot. And by a lot, I mean 92,000 US dollars or 1.3 billion rupiah, or the highest estimate would be 118,000 or 1.7 billion rupiah yearly. And forensic investigators, moving on to the team, are more like spies for intelligence and justice. So instead of businesses, they get hired by government intelligence, police, or even businesses to track activities that are related to the person's case. So they ensure evidence credibility, like has this been edited and so on, to make sure that the files were also not removed. And like mentioned earlier, with their findings, they write legal reports for the actions that they've done on their phone, and then they give it to court, because maybe the court thinks that you're doing illegal things online. Then maybe your browser history, your cache, your memory might have actually said that you did something illegal, but you thought that we wouldn't know. We always know. And hackers, forensic investigators, get paid a lot as well, especially if you're a forensic specialist in London, because you get paid the same yearly amount monthly. So 1.2 billion, 1 to 2 billion rupiah monthly if you're in London. So everything here actually sounds really niche, but we're actually everywhere. So maybe, I'm assuming most of you have seen the documentary Ice Cold about the famous cyanide coffee case with Jessica and Mirna. And because a lot of you guys have watched it, it has sparked lots of debate everywhere in social media. But one thing that the documentary left out is actually the digital forensic report. They didn't really show it fully, but the text messages that were retrieved and was shown on the screen are actually from the forensics report, because those messages before Jessica came to the cafe, before everything happened, it could have shown what she was planning to do. So it's very, very interesting, because digital forensics is really everywhere. So hearing all of these crazy job descriptions and how I stare at a black background with green text all day, you must be thinking I'm a creepy person in a dark room with wires and hundreds of monitors. But some of you might think I'm like Benji from Mission Impossible, always in action, following the main protagonist around with his laptop, and with this laptop you could open gates and activate technology from afar. But some of you might also think that I'm part of this really big hacker group called Anonymous. But really, if you're just hacking into a system, then all of you are actually amateurs. Well, we're also here to talk about how humans are the most vulnerable thing in the system, and that's true. And this is supported by a quote from Bruce Nair, who is an American cryptographer, who once said, "Amateurs hack systems, while professionals hack people." So before we get into anything bigger, let's define what cybersecurity really is. So first, they aim to protect individuals and organization systems. Of course, they safeguard applications and computing devices from any kinds of attacks. Sensitive data and financial assets are also protected. So every single threat, from the smallest ones, like maybe if they accidentally got your password correct, to the most complex one, like they just broke into your system with a screwdriver or something. That's actually possible. Cybersecurity protects everything from happening for your devices, whether it be an organization or also yourself. So cybersecurity is really just a digital version of your neighborhood security guys. They just kind of go around looking for any kind of suspicious thing, and keep your digital world or home safe. So, as hackers, why do we need to hack the people instead of the systems? Well, that's because the systems are already way too perfect. So actually, the companies who have these systems also don't really know what their vulnerabilities are. So in Indonesia, for example, you have this one e-commerce giant called Tokopedia, and they're offering about 4,800 US dollars or 75 million rupiah to anyone, actually not limited to hackers, anyone that can help them find a single vulnerability in their application. So if you can find it, you can give them an actual report, give them how you did that. They're gonna give you 4,800 US dollars like right away because you helped them a whole lot with your finding. So if it's too hard for a big company, a giant e-commerce in Indonesia called Tokopedia, imagine if you were just some small hacker who's just starting out, just trying to figure out your way through this whole system. It's already too hard. So the systems, they're already perfect and they're already enhanced again with a concept called zero trust. So this makes your devices not trust anyone by default. Even if it's actually just you trying to log into your own account, it can be really annoying, especially when you don't have good signal or you have low battery. So one of the biggest and most common things about zero trust is actually their two-factor authentication login. So if you logged into your account with a new computer, it will tell you, and these apps are already developed with secure coding. And now sometimes if you want to go into a system, the key to the system also has its own password. So even if you know the system's password, you also need to know the key's password. And sometimes several systems, servers, and so on can only be accessed with the company Wi-Fi, or if you have a VPN that is already set up for you so you can actually access the system. So if your own system doesn't trust you, then might as well, if you're a bad person with bad intentions, might as well just move to the people who doesn't really have zero trust. They can just easily trust people as long as you're convincing. So people really will trust you, but if your target is a bit hard, then you'd have to be really smart to make them trust you. And actually, this manipulation method, I could say, is actually called social engineering. That's the fancy name. And like what I mentioned earlier, humans don't really have zero trust systems unless you're someone with trust issues. And it's quite easy to make them believe you if you're a bad person. And if you're the bad person, then you need to know these several sneaky methods to get this person's trust. So the first thing, I'm really sure you've heard of this because this is very common, is called phishing. And yes, it's a pun for phishing because they're phishing for your information or your organization's information. So these attackers deceive people into revealing sensitive information. And this is usually done over email to big companies, but now you can actually do this through phone calls and other mediums of conversation. And this is the most common method of scams or phishing in Indonesia because it's so easy to get your information here. It's just too easy. And here's an example of phishing by email because it's actually really still a bit hard to tell which is really safe and which one doesn't have any harm behind it. So what you're supposed to look for is, okay, this is a normal email, but then there's a threat here. So if you don't reply within 24 hours, then your email will be gone. And then you have to click on something and you have to pretend to be a trusted sender. But actually, if you really pay attention to both of these, they both have the trusted sender, but this one doesn't have a threat. Sometimes it happens. When you have to click on a link, you have to really pay attention to the link. So here you can say it says WERFG, whatever, and then SADFWX, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you see these kinds of links, it's definitely a phishing scam because if you click on these links, bad things could happen. And of course, the one that is the most rampant in Indonesia, I'm pretty sure all of you have one of these messages either in your SMS or in your WhatsApp. I'm so sorry for those of you who don't speak Indonesian because this is, I'm not sure. I have never really lived outside of like Indonesia, like in Asia, but here, I will try to explain a bit. Someone is trying to send an APK or an application executable file to you and saying that it's a marriage invitation. What kind of marriage invitation would be an application that's way too much budget, right? So if it's just like this, just don't click it. And sometimes it would be like, oh, hey, your packet's here. Here's the photo of your packet. But it's an executable file. It's an application. Of course, it's definitely a virus. And sometimes it could just be a link like this, just like the example that I showed with the emails earlier. So it would be like, you won something from Shopee, you won something from your provider saying that you won 150 million rupiah miraculously. But that is just their way to try and get you to click the link so they could actually get your information. So what actually happens when you click on these executable files? What happens when you click on the links that were in the phishing links or on the WhatsApp scam that I showed you earlier? Well, if it was an executable file, then most likely they're looking for your mobile banking information. So this application will track down your entire phone. Most likely it's going to be on the phone because it's sent on WhatsApp. Then this app will track your mobile banking app and then try to get their way around it so that they could get your credentials. And if they have the credentials, obviously, then they're gonna try and steal all your money. And then after that, your personal data could be leaked. So it could be your name, number, address, and so on. And this actually gives the hacker more detail so they could actually change the credentials of your bank account. So maybe if they want to transfer it right away, they can change the password, they can change everything on that account, including the name, with the with the personal information that has been provided by clicking on that link. But if you actually combine them together, and then the hacker is really someone who wants to kind of make the country shake, then they're gonna do something called a Bjorka move. I'm pretty sure all of you know who Bjorka is by now. This guy decided to upload the entire country's like national identification card to a forum, and people can actually buy it for about 1 billion rupiah. So they could actually do this again, and it could just be combined. So like your personal data plus your mobile banking credentials, that's gonna be really, really expensive. They're gonna upload to some forum and they're gonna get paid for doing something evil like this. And worst comes to worst, then they're gonna install a ransomware in your laptop. So now you cannot access any of your files, photos, and the only way you can do it is by paying a lot of money to the developer of the virus. So make sure you never fall for that. And the second thing that they could do, which is not really a cybersecurity threat, but it could be, is an insider threat. So I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the quote, sometimes the person you take a bullet for is behind the trigger. This is true for a lot of companies because you don't really know what your employees are doing. So they would try to access your computer, or maybe their computer also has some access to the files that are actually confidential. So they will actually try and take this confidential file and use it for something. And I think getting your data stolen is definitely scarier than them taking the money off of your cash register, because at least if it's money, it can be recovered, right? But if it's your personal data and maybe you did something bad in the past and they want to blackmail you with it, it's definitely much scarier than getting your money lost. And if this employee really is someone that's just bad, then they might share this data to your competitor. So imagine you're just a cafe who just opened and like everyone loves you. And then you have a lot of these products, marketing plans, collaborations inside one document file. And then they take that, they give it to your biggest competitor, which is probably the cafe across you. And then they suddenly apply all of these products, all of these marketing things that you've planned for months with your team and also your employees. And then they get a lot more customers than you. So can you imagine what would happen? And this is actually called an industrial espionage because the stolen data is used to benefit your competitor. So if your competitors are bigger than you and then they're doing your marketing strategies and applying the products that you want, then they could definitely easily kill your business because now they're the one viral on TikTok and you're not. And now they're getting a lot more viral every single day because of the strategies that you actually thought of. So if you don't have any customers, then might as well just close your business. And even if this happens, maybe for the insider threat, maybe for the industrial espionage, it could be solved by law, right? Whatever happens on the internet doesn't have a law. And now you can really understand why humans are actually the most evil thing inside a cybersecurity system. No matter how good your laptop is, no matter how good your phone is, no matter how much security you actually put around the system, if they know their way in as a human, right there in front of the system, then everything could be lost. And no law will protect you. because the internet doesn't have a law. What kind of land would this stand on? Because it happened on international grounds. The cables for the internet are all around the globe. So if this happens to you, then good luck trying to solve it, especially with law. So I'll just say good luck. But instead of ending it on just a good luck, I will tell you several tips to avoid phishing and also the other insider threats and industrial espionage, because humans really can be very, very scary. And first of all, to avoid phishing, you have to protect your internet image. Don't be too showy on the internet, because those photos, those information, and the location that you took the photos in can actually really easily be traced to you. And criminals can use that information to imitate someone that you know. So maybe, for example, you just took a picture with your friend at the beach. Then they might pose as this friend, asking you for money, asking you to do some favors for them. But they're not actually your friend. They're just someone pretending to be your friend. And I saw this happen many, many times. And I actually saw this being blasted in so many groups like, hey, this isn't my number. Don't reply to them, just block and report them. Because this is so common. And of course, do not post card information, the card that you use, and also your keys. I'm pretty sure the surprising one here is your keys, right? But the thing is, now that we have AI, right, they could literally just zoom into your key, and then they can make a copy of that key in their own house, because it's so easy to do that, or just hire like someone who could copy it off of an image. So if they know where your house is, for example, if they know what car you drive, if they know where you park usually, then they could literally just steal it right now because of the things that you post on the internet. And second, do not give your number to anyone that you don't trust. Especially in Indonesia, we have this thing called a pulsa counter. Pulsa is like the money that you put in your provider to buy like more credit for your phone, your internet fees. And actually, it has been debunked that the number that you put in their book actually gets sold to these scam companies. So that's how they find out what your number is all the time, including your name. But maybe it's not from there. If you don't really go there, just don't use get contact. Like that's actually the biggest privacy, like it's just not good for you. It's just doesn't like give respect to your privacy at all. Just don't use it, because from there they can find out what you do, they can find out who your parents are, and even where you work, just from your number. So just don't use get contact. And if you want to be secure and use get contact, for example, if you want to find out if the person calling is a scammer or a spammer or so on, then maybe you can put get contact to your work phone number instead of your personal phone number, because at least your work phone number is just going to be your business's name. So there's nothing much they could find. But of course, the best method of all is to just ignore them. Ignore anyone who's trying to call you with a number that you don't know. Just ignore all of those weird messages that you get from WhatsApp saying that this is a wedding invitation, but it's an app. You don't owe them your beautiful, amazing responses. You don't owe them your time. Just don't respond to them. And maybe if you don't know them, but they're actually someone that you know, then just wait for them to introduce themselves, because like it's not what you're supposed to do when you get someone's phone number. So please do these three tricks to avoid phishing or getting your data stolen, or even potentially your house broken into or your car being stolen. And to avoid insider threat, first of all, hire a system administrator. And a system administrator is someone who makes different users, different groups for the users, that determines whether or not, oh, they can access this file, they cannot access this file, what can they execute, what can they not. And system administrators help with this. And also, even that works for your employees. And like what I mentioned earlier, sometimes you can only access the systems when you're inside the building, or if you're already authorized through a VPN to access the system that you need to work on. And of course, this avoids them opening and accessing confidential files to share to the competitor, for example. And second, make sure to password lock all of the files that you think are important. So maybe even if you've already set up the users, the groups, sometimes they might accidentally come across it. Maybe you accidentally copied it into that user. And even if they can see the file, if you have it password locked, then they can't open it. And even if they send it to the competitor, like, hey, I might find the marketing plans for this company from this year to this year. If you don't know the password, then it's going to be useless. And third, I think this is the best one, to just have a really strict contract for your employees, or also a non-disclosure agreement or NDA, because That means you get to punish them with however you want in the contract. So, hey, if you leak this file, then I can put you in jail for like 5 years. So make sure that they know the consequences before they sign the contract. Because if they do something bad, then you can at least punish them instead of letting them get away with their stuff. And that is all from me. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me for maybe about 20 minutes. So any questions maybe about anything in the slide? Or maybe something a little bit non-related is fine. Thank you.
So my friends, Toastmaster, do you have any question for our Janet? Seems like Janet did a very thorough about cybersecurity. Yes, I do remind. Leonie has a question. Leonie, please.
Yes, I do have a question. So what if the pissing is already done and your mom has already clicked the thing and phone gets hacked and things like that? So what is your best advice if we have to handle those kind of things when it's already been done? Thank you.
Usually when that happens, this probably doesn't really work so well anymore. But if you don't have access to someone that you know is like really good at forensics, then your best bet would be to report it to the police. It might take a really long time, but at least it's a step forward because I think that is already related to the law and also the bank. Because if the bank maybe can trace back where the money is going to, for example, then they can at least know who the person who did it is, and then they might track them because they have a database, right, of where they live. Then it might be solved, and you might get your money back. But the case with phishing is most of the time it's really hard to do that. But maybe if the scammer is a bit new, then maybe you might have a chance to getting your money back. And when that already happens, do not fall for the people who say that, hey, I can get your money back for like this much, because that's already called a recovery scam. Usually that is done by the same group. So once they know that, oh, you already sent the money, you're probably already thinking of how to get it back, right? Once you figure out it's a scam, someone will try and contact you saying that you can get it back if you follow what I do. And it's probably them asking for more money. So if you get those kinds of messages from an unknown number again, just block them. Or when you still have their number still active, for example, because there is a big chance that they're using a burner phone, keep that number and report it to the same police that you reported the phishing scam to. They will definitely know what happened. So sadly, the only thing you can do by that time is just to be more aware and report it to the police. Thank you so much for the question.
Okay, Janet, there is a question from Elios. What are some key indicators that a cybersecurity compromise may have occurred?
Oh, this is really interesting. It depends, actually. It depends on what has been done. If it was an executable, for example, like this WhatsApp scam that I put earlier, like this one, and you downloaded it on your phone or your laptop, one of the biggest indicators is that all of a sudden your phone is really slow. And your phone is really slow because this app is actually constantly running in the background, taking up a lot of your resources, like your RAM, just to try and find the information that they need. Because most of the time it's not direct, since an Android is still a really big file system that they have to get through. It might just make your phone run really slow. And if it was a financial scam, for example, then of course you will notice that your money has gone down. There's not so much that you can do to detect it, but at least you will notice that your phone or your laptop is running slower. But if maybe you download this file and turns out it's not really so harmful, it's just a virus that shows ads and stuff, then all you can do is just run a full scan with your antivirus, and it will probably detect where it has been installed, because even I cannot find out where these kinds of executables are really installed down to the root. It's very hard because they usually duplicate the files and just put it in random locations so that it might not be so obvious, and you might try to delete the files one by one, but it's not really the virus. It's a bit hard. And
Okay.
I guess that's all for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. So, as a reminder from her, don't simply install any application or click any link that was suddenly sent to you, especially by your friends. So be aware of that. And Janet, here's one more for you. Can we, as a normal citizen, track people's last location with just phone number?
Actually, there is a way, but it's a little bit illegal, so I don't think I should tell you because I actually have done that before. I have done that before, but it's illegal in so many countries. It's just Indonesia is not very forward with cybersecurity, so it's legal here. But I had to do it in a controlled setting with instructions from my teacher at the time because it's kind of a gray zone. There is a way you can try and find out yourself, but if you are not in a country that legalizes it, then maybe the police might come find you and just ask like what were you doing, because it has actually happened to a few students of that teacher.
Thank you, Janet, for answering that. And one more. Where is that question? It's from Tasha actually. If we accidentally download the files, can we delete the files and would it fix the problem?
It depends on how fast you are.
Mm.
If the file is not the one that opens automatically when you install it, because a lot of viruses are that way, but some older ones are not like that, then it might actually work. Like, because it hasn't run yet, right? Hasn't actually started the process of looking down into your files. So it might fix the problem. But if you simply just uninstall the APK or the exe, for example, but you have already run it, or it's the type that runs automatically, then basically what you did is just uninstall the installer. So maybe if you guys use MacBook, you're just like deleting the .dmg file or like the package file, but like it doesn't actually uninstall the application on its own. So it wouldn't solve it if it's the newer ones.
Yeah, so there are times when we install the file, actually the virus is lurking inside the computer. It's best to get it checked out at some reliable, trusted shops or people actually, from what Janet suggests, rather than be there doing not sure what to do. Of course, there one's last choice. There's format your laptop or computer, but you don't want to lose your data, so get someone to help you. And the last one from Elios, can you share some best practice for securing a company network and data against cyber threats?
Oh, there's actually a lot that you can do, but there is a lot, like what I mentioned. But the easiest way is to, maybe you can screenshot this slide, wait, this insider thread, because I think even though maybe the hiring a system administrator and the strict contract might require you to hire someone from the legal side, or this system administrator can be very expensive sometimes, I think it's the most effective and efficient way, even though it might cost you some money. But I'm telling you that these people usually know their thing, and it will last you a long time, because these people are gonna set up like these firewalls. I don't really know if there's like a more normal word for it. Firewall is like, it's literally just this wall, this barrier that sits between your network and your computer. And this wall has a guard on it. And this guard basically determines whether or not the person can go inside. Or in this case, it's the virus that can go inside, because they already know the previous ones that have already done offenses before, and they stop them from coming true because they have a detector. They have this database that can detect whether or not they can come true. So I guess just screenshot this slide because I think it's the most efficient one.
So everyone, please take a screenshot. Okay. Okay, Janet, would you like to answer this last one from Angela? How do you spot a hacker copying you on Facebook?
Oh, usually. I'm not sure because this has never happened to me before, but this is just a tip as like a normal person that has no experience with this whatsoever. Usually, I think you just kind of spot them on your own. Because from the other messages that I've got, like, oh, like, please block this number, please report this number, this person is not me, even though their profile picture is me and the name is me. All you can do is just wait for a good friend to tell you what happened and then like ask them to spread the word or like post it on your social media saying that this is not me. Usually that's the case. You can't really spot them when you create the account because they haven't done anything, probably. They haven't sent any messages. And if it's on Facebook, there's already millions of people on Facebook. Maybe they might just share the same name with you. But if they have the same profile picture, for example, then that's probably when it gets a bit suspicious.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. I would like to add on a little from your side. This is from my experience that my friends, most of them know me. I never use proper grammar, proper English when talking to them. And there's one fine day, these hackers stupidly use proper structure and grammar to talk to my friends. And they know this is definitely not me, not lie, because he never used proper structure English when chatting with people. So my words is usually mixed with Bahasa, English, Mandarin, all the way. I will mix all my language. Unless you want to hack me, you must know my way of structuring a words to my friends. Then you will know how to be impersonating me. So you or your friends must have at least know how do you talk to them, speak to them. And this is where you build your own security against people impersonating you. Thank you, Janet, for sharing your wonderful session with us. And the club would like to present you a certificate of appreciation. Is it from you, Tasha?
Yes, it's from me.
Yes, you won't learn my proper words. You have a hard time to learn.
Okay, give me a second. Let me share it. Oh,
Is it okay, Tasha?
yeah, everything okay. Give me a second. It's too much. A website.
Take your time. Oh.
Oh. Okay, share screen and
For the data scraping. Okay, Janet.
all right. I need Elios, are you there? Can you please
Okay. Janet,
Yeah.
are you ready with your friends Pong, Bob, and Patrick?
Pin her,
Okay.
Elios, pin her.
Already, yeah? Smile because you are in bikini bottom. Okay, one. Another pose, maybe? Okay. It's time for a paycheck, Mr. Crab. Thank you. Back to you, Sasha.
Thank you.
Now Elios and me have successfully hacked Janet profile. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you so much.
And now we move on to the table topic session. In this session, we would like to encourage the guest who is attending this as not a club member to try this table topic session. And in this table topic session, it will be conducted by our first speaker as well, now the table topic master, Titin. Titin, I will pass the floor to you now. Elios, you later. Let the guest try first.
Thank you, DTM Lai, or Tom. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and esteemed guests. I'm Titin. I'm happy to serve as your table topic master for this evening. So we are about to start the most awaited session for the guests and, of course, for the Toastmaster members as well. So why table topics is fun? Because we can learn impromptu speaking. Table topics help us to organize our thoughts quickly, express our thoughts in impromptu setting. You will be given one statement or a question and you will answer it in 1 until 2.5 minutes without any prior preparation. Timing is minimum 1 minute and then maximum is 2.5 minutes. When the timer has shown the red sign, then you will still have 30 seconds to conclude your speech. kindly pin the timer if you feel convenient. And then the word of the day for today is reinvigorate, with the theme being youthful. So is everybody ready for table topics? Please show me your thumbs. Thank you for the reactions. So let me show you the question first, and then I will call the volunteer or the participants so that everyone can ponder on the questions. I see that Toastmaster Ilios is raising his virtual hand, so let me invite him for the first one. So, as the theme today is being youthful, this is the statement for you, Toastmaster Ilios. Age is just a number. It is shown on my virtual background. Age is just a number.
Hey, how are you today, everybody? What do you think about this topic? It's just a number. This is a very great reminder for us that the age is just a number. Imagine you have accumulated years in experience, especially in life. You are talking to someone that you really love for several years, and you propose to him or to her. I love you. I have been with you for 5 years. Let's get married. Well, if all the formula is there will be no such thing like rushing to the marriage. Because age is just a number. Imagine, you're a woman, you're in the late 20s, and you didn't have any boyfriend or spouse to marry on. What will happen to you? Is there anything that can reinvigorate you to become a better woman? Well, it happens to me also as a man. I feel like I am in the early 30s. It is the time to get married. But yes, because I know this slogan, age is just a number, is always be remembered in my mind. I don't need to rush such things because yes, marriage is not as beautiful as people say. I saw so many people divorced, saw so many people separated, and yes, get widowed, or yeah, you know it, you name it. So to support my opinion about this topic, it's just a number. Enjoy your life and come to Toastmasters meeting to reinvigorate your life. Are you with me? Or are you with our TTM, Titin? Take to you, Titin.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ilios, for sharing your own experience of being the high quality singer, and also thank you for inviting us to join many more of the Toastmasters meeting to reinvigorate our spirits. I see that the timer now has shown the blue background, so I believe later she will change the background to green, yellow, and red. Okay. And I see here there is our guest, Aswin. Okay. Guest Aswin. So this is the question for you. As the theme is being youthful, so guest Aswin, YOLO, you only live once. You only live once. Guest Aswin.
Yeah. Thank you, Toastmaster Titin. So yes, we only live once. There is only one chance what life gives us. And we need to live it to the best of whatever we do.